Ready down here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, folks, the time is approximately 6 p.m. March 27th, 2025. Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman will now begin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and online. I want to thank you for your presence at tonight's Board Mayor and Alderman meeting. My name is Ron Williams, the fourth elected mayor of town of Farragut. We appreciate that each of you has taken the time from your busy schedules to either attend or view tonight's meeting to see how our town government works. All Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. All board meetings minutes will be taken and are available. Each meeting will be recorded and can be viewed at a later date on YouTube. If you're in attendance, you should be able to pick up a copy of tonight's agenda at the door when you came in tonight. If you are not able to attend tonight and are viewing from home, then the agenda is available online at our website. For those in attendance that would like to speak, please pick up a blue card at the door and write your name and agenda number that you wish to speak on. And there will be also time reserved near the end of the meeting for citizens' comments on non-agenda subjects, which also requires that you fill out a blue card with citizen comments as your time you wish to speak. On each agenda item, the mayor will ask the town recorder for the residents' input. During this time, any Farragut resident wishing to speak to the board on that specific agenda item may do so for up to 3 minutes. After being recognized by the mayor, please go to the podium microphone in order to be heard and viewed by all. To conduct efficient business-like meetings, the town has adopted rules for how its meetings will be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, assure that all points of view are heard and considered, and provide common courtesy to everyone. We ask that you observe the established meeting rules when addressing the board. At the beginning of your presentation, please state your name and address for the record. We ask that you address all of your questions to the mayor or in his absence, the vice mayor. Do not direct questions of the alderman or staff members. If necessary, the mayor may call on an alderman or staff member concerning your question or your comments. Once you've given your input, please return to your seat so that we can continue with the meeting. We ask that every speaker avoid the use of improper language, profanity, or other inappropriate conduct and address issues, not individuals or personalities. Speakers should strive to avoid redundancy and should have their own original viewpoints. We ask also that you stay on topic of that particular agenda item. Okay, meeting call to order. We'll start tonight's meeting with a roll call by the town recorder for a quorum.
Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Kane.
Here.
Alderman White.
Here.
Vice Mayor Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here. Thank you, Allison. We do have a quorum. Now please join me by standing for a silent prayer, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag, led tonight by Alderman Burnett.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Next will be approval of the agenda. Do we have any amendments?
No, sir.
If not, then I'll need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, if in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Let the record show the March 27th, 2025 agenda has been approved as posted. Okay, the minutes, do we have any amendment to
No,
the
sir.
minutes? None? Okay, then I'll need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, if in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Let the record show the minutes have been approved as posted. Mayor's report. I want to start with a thank you to our Arts and Beautification Committee for another successful art show that was headed up by Chairman Lisa Hall. And also now I want to bring up our fire chief for a little bit of an announcement. Jeff Devlin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman. Appreciate the time. Again, Jeff Devlin, Fire Chief for Rural Metro here in Knox County. In an effort to be transparent, we are announcing through the news and with other government entities and stakeholders that we're going to start charging non-subscribers for first responder emergency medical calls. So since 1977, we have not charged non-subscribers when we ran first responder emergency medical calls. We always have for fires and hazmat and rescue calls. So this is new, and the endeavor is not a cash grab. It's a way to try to charge these folks a flat fee of $600, and if they subscribe, we will throw out the bill. It's 60% of our calls are EMS calls, and it's a way for us to get more touches with people and hopefully convince them to subscribe, which makes it more fair for everyone. And so I've been asked a few times now, like, why are we doing this now? Well, the main reason is I'm the fire chief now. The second reason is it makes it more fair. Our current subscribers deserve that we don't give out any freebies anymore. And with the growth and expansion and demand for service in Knox County, we really can't afford to be giving away anything for free at this point. So again, the goal is to work with people and make them subscribers, but ultimately, you all may hear feedback from people when this happens. So we wanted to be transparent about it up front.
Okay, any questions from the Alderman?
I got a couple.
Okay,
What's the current subscription fee?
So the average current subscription costs about $425 here in the town. It's probably a bit higher than that. It's based on the square footage of homes. So for example, if you have a really large square foot house, it might be $850. If you have a trailer, for example, it might be $150.
So it is a savings if they do subscribe?
Yeah, for most people, we feel like it'll be a savings. Ultimately, what we want to do is have that contact, right? So they'll get an invoice and it'll say, please subscribe today, please call this number. They'll hopefully pick up the phone and call, and we can explain to them the more in-depth reason of why it's really important that they subscribe.
All right. And then one other thing, is it required that you have a fire apparatus on every EMS call, or is that just a policy?
No, it's a good question. So, we work within the entire E911 system here in Knoxville and Knox County, including the town, and there are priorities given to emergency medical calls, 1 through 3. So a priority 3 call is a non-emergency call that doesn't get any kind of a first responder dispatched. Priority 2 calls, same thing. It's an emergency, so the ambulance will go lights and sirens, but no first responder. So only the most serious of medical emergencies and situations get a first responder, EMTs, paramedics on fire trucks, and that's the response, priority 1s only.
Thank you.
anyone else? Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Quick and easy. Thank you all.
Okay, do any of the other aldermen have anything to report?
I'll just, yeah,
Okay.
so this week we got to celebrate and wish well on a new venture. Miss Jennifer Hatmaker, who is going to Chattanooga. So we all got invited to her going away party yesterday, and that was special. She meant a lot to the town. She was a winner of the Betty Newby Award. So she meant a lot to the staff and to the town, and we're sorry to see her go because she's meant a lot. So it was great to be there and just wish her good luck on where she's moving to with her new husband. So wish her the best and appreciate her work.
Okay,
Yeah. I've invited Mr. Ruffalo here today. He's going to speak at the end of the meeting in regards to something that's really started to affect the state of Tennessee. There's an initiative out right now called the Tennessee Businesses Against Human Trafficking, and so he's going to speak at the end of that. But something very interesting, human trafficking is happening in all 95 counties here in Tennessee. The 13 to 17-year-old age group is the most affected, and they represent about 45% of all the cases involving minors. But this program is going to allow businesses to come in and get training for free on how to pick up on it, how to see it, how to respond to trafficking if it's happening in their business.
okay, Alex, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to our ordinances. We have 2 ordinances for public hearing and review. Ordinance 25-02, approval on the second reading, an ordinance to amend the Farragut Municipal Code, Appendix A, zoning, Chapter 3, Section 12, General Commercial District, C1, Section B, 12C, 3, to change setbacks under certain conditions for outdoor fences associated with commercial kennels.
And this is the second reading on ordinance 2502. It's a ordinance that will amend the zoning ordinance and most specifically the C1 zoning district for commercial kennels and the required setback distance for fences depending on what type of land use it's adjacent to. So the ordinance would reduce the outdoor fence setback requirement for a commercial kennel to 25 feet when the property abuts non-residential or non-agricultural property. So if the property was zoned and developed as either commercial or office or that sort of development, it would continue to maintain the existing 250-foot setback if the property, if the kennel was adjoining either residential property or agricultural property. So it's a reduction from a 50-foot setback as it's written now down to a 25-foot setback when the commercial kennel and the outdoor fencing is adjoining either commercial property, office property, or some other non-residential, non-agricultural type property. It was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their February meeting and recommended, and it was reviewed at the March 13th meeting by this board on first reading and passed on first reading. There haven't been any changes to the ordinance, and staff recommends approval of it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, do we have any rested comments
sir.
on this one? We do not. Okay, discussion. I'll start with Alderman White.
I have none.
None. Alderman Kane.
None.
Vice Mayor.
Pass.
Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
I have none as well. With discussion closed, I'll ask the town recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Kane.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show that ordinance 25-02 has been approved on the second and final reading by a 5-0 roll call vote on March 27th, 2025, approximately 6:12 p.m. Okay, next, for the ordinance 2503, approval on the second reading, ordinance to amend Farragut Municipal Code, Appendix A, zoning, Chapter 3, Section 26, Planned Commercial Development District, PCD, subsection C, minimum standards. 1, land uses to add a new section, F, to provide for drive-through under certain conditions.
Okay, this is a second reading of ordinance 2503. It's another zoning amendment. In this case, it affects the planned commercial district. And what it would do, it would allow for drive-through type facilities, restaurants, and that sort of thing in a PCD zone outside of the mixed-use town center area. There would be conditions placed on, the development of the drive-through in the PCD district. Those are to sort of lessen the impact of what it would be on the area. So no stacking in front of the building. All the drive-through stacking would have to be to the side and rear. There are some provisions to where it wouldn't interfere with pedestrian traffic and that sort of thing, but it would provide an opportunity for drive-through facilities in the PCD district outside of the mixed-use town center area. It was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their February meeting, and the Planning Commission recommended approval. It was reviewed by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen at their March 13th meeting on first reading and approved. There haven't been any changes since then, and staff continues to recommend approval of it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any rested comments?
No, sir.
None, okay, discussion. Alderman White.
None.
Alderman Kane.
None.
Vice Mayor.
Pass.
Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
None as well. With discussion closed, I'll ask town recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Kane.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show ordinance 25-03 has been approved on the second and final reading by a 5-0 roll call vote on March 27th, 2025, at approximately 6:14 p.m. Next, we're going to move on to business items with 5 items to review and consider for approval. Approval of a variance of 350 feet from distance between driveways, requirement for arterial streets in driveways and other access ways ordinance for proposed access associated with a duplex at 1114 North Campbell Station Road. And that would be Oleg's Edits.
This one's going to take a little more explanation than the previous two. This is a request for a variance from our access control provisions. It's a fairly substantial variance for some lots that were platted in Knox County. There were 3 lots platted along North Campbell Station Road. They were done quite some time, a while back. We didn't really have any input in that at the time. There was a period in time where everyone thought that the town limit was at the center line, North Campbell Station Road. It's actually on the right-of-way. So we do have control over driveway cuts and road cuts. In this case, the property was platted so that 2 of the 3 lots the 3 lots would share 2 access points. So if you can go back one, yeah. So you can see there's two little driveway cuts there onto North Campbell Station Road that the 3 lots are supposed to share. One is the sole access for the lot furthest to the right, and then the 2 other lots, one of them being the lot in question that wants the variance, we're supposed to share a common driveway there. So that's something that we probably wouldn't have approved in that configuration ourselves, but the lots have already been subdivided. They're already sold off to individual parties. So the owner of lot 11, which is the one furthest on the left, they would like to get a variance to have a driveway cut that would better align with Fritz Road. So you can see there to where their driveway would be directly across from Fritz Road. Ideally, and what staff originally spoke to the property owner about, to work something out with the other property owners to where the other 2 driveways would be abandoned and all the access would be at Fritz Road, because that would be a better turning movement for everybody, and it would decrease the number of driveway cuts there on a main road. Our current standard on a main road like that, on an arterial, is we want a 400-foot separation between driveways. In this case, it's very substandard, and the addition of the driveway would just make that nonconformity worse. But that driveway is actually in the best place of the 3 from staff's perspective. Some other factors that have impacted this property and what's going on is that the county is going to be adding a turn lane for Fritz Road in North Campbell Station. So there'll be a center turn lane there. There'll be stacking of cars when people are trying to turn into Fritz. And part of that was some relocation of utilities that have gotten in the way a bit of where that shared driveway would be and some of the access in between the lots. So the property owner is requesting a variance to get a driveway there that would come in from across Fritz Road. Staff recommended against it at the Planning Commission meeting because it would add another non-conforming driveway cut. The Planning Commission discussed it and felt that there had been a change in conditions in the area. So they've actually recommended approval of the variance with some conditions. Some of the Planning Commission's thinking was that because of the addition of the turn lane that's going to be going into North Campbell Station, that's going to really impact turning movements out of the 2 existing driveway cuts. So they felt that putting a cut or putting a driveway where this applicant wants it, would probably benefit all 3 in the long term, because potentially the other 2 could, somewhere down the line use that one. Also, the utility relocations and that have gone on as part of that project also clearly affect the property. So, staff recommended against it, feeling that the lot already had access via the shared driveway. It's not an ideal situation, but they could make use of that, and there would be the addition of another driveway through there. But the planning commission felt that, given the change in conditions, that the request was reasonable. And so they recommended approval of it, subject to the staff working with the county on trying to provide a plat note and some additional platting, because there are conditions on the existing plat of record that, will require all three properties to be replatted to change this. Because right now, the stipulation on the plat is that, those driveway cuts, the two existing driveway locations are the only ones that are allowed. So they'll have to go back to the county and replat the property and change those plat notes. So the planning commission felt that, they could recommend approval of the variance, with the condition that staff work with the county on developing a plat note that would ultimately allow the other two lots, which would be 9R and 10, to also be able to access the driveway there that would come in better alignment to Fritz Road. So that's sort of, that's where this stands now. Staff continues to recommend against it for the reasons I said, that, the property does have access. But the planning commission reviewed it and recommended in favor of the variance, with the condition of the changed plat note. I hope I explained that enough. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those.
Okay. This is highly unusual that we have a situation like this, but there's been many times where Knox County may not do what is best for the property owners. We've seen this time and time again, and this is another case for that. I think what we need to do is look at it from the standpoint of there's a guide wire in the way. What's the next lot over? The number on it?
It's lot 11, lot 10 is the middle lot. And
10.
and then lot 9R is the one furthest to the right.
According to the applicant, because I sit on the planning commission, but according to the applicant, there was not any kind of an agreement for that to work.
Yep.
So for Knox County to say that has to work, then if the applicant cannot get the other one property owner to work with him, then that's a non-starter. So we're put in a position to where we have to look at it from a common sense point of view. So I'm going to ask each alderman to give his point of view on this.
I want to hear first and a second. Motion and a second.
Do you
Well,
make a motion?
if there's going to be a motion, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'll start out with Vice Mayor.
Okay. I'm not going to make a motion because I don't approve it, and here's why. And obviously, this is a difficult situation, and I understand that. And I think the intent of the owner, when I was in the Planning Commission meeting, and what I heard was trying to bring some kind of conformity, some kind of ease to accessing Campbell Station Road with this third driveway. But at the end of the day, variance is granted when property can't be used for a certain reason. And in this case, the property can be used. The property does have access. And I do think adding a third non-conforming driveway to a non-conforming situation already is going to make it more congested. I don't think it's going to bring the relief that the applicant's asking for. So although I appreciate the intent and I appreciate the discussion, I was the only person on the Planning Commission who voted against it. It was just me. And I'm used to being a jerk, so it's fine. But I understand the intent, and I appreciate it, I truly do. And I don't want to, but I'm afraid we're going to cause more, we're going to have more risk of accidents with the third non-conforming driveway in this area. And I think that we need to stick with the original plot from Knox County.
Okay, thank you, sir. Alderman White.
I'll let the Vice Mayor's comments be mine.
Okay, Alderman Kane.
What's the possibility that the county's going to work with the staff on the recommendation from the planning commission?
Well, I think what, and I wasn't at the planning commission, so I'm, you know, I wasn't part of that discussion. I think probably what they would be looking for, or, you know, what staff would be looking for would be something on the plat note that Lot 11 would allow the other lots to have access through to get to that. Now, you know, one of the things that came up was, and I believe the property owner may be here and can speak to this if they like. You know, one of the things we asked them to do from the outset was to see whether or not the owner of Lot 10 would agree to abandon their driveway there and move it over, so we'd still only have two, but that property owner was not willing to do that at the time, or at this time. So I think what we would be looking to do is ensure that the other lots would, at least one of the other lots, if not both, would ultimately have access through Lot 11 to that driveway. And I think the planning commission's feeling, and again, I wasn't at the meeting, but in my discussions with Mark Shipley, was that, you know, the feeling was that once the turn lane is there in North Campbell Station Road, there are going to be times of the day where those other two driveways are not going to function well, because there's going to be cars stacked in that turn lane. People are not going to be able to make a left out.
What's the time frame for that turn lane?
I'm not exactly sure. Darrell, do you know what the timeline is on that?
Notice to proceed is, I think, April 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be this spring, this summer, okay.
So I think what the planning commission's thoughts was that over time, as traffic builds on North Campbell Station Road, as that turn lane is in place, that the owners of Lot 10 and Lot 9R are going to find their driveways heavily impacted by the stacking in that, and that if there's a provision made now for them to have cross-access through Lot 11 to get to the driveway that would align with Fritz Road, that'll be a better turning movement for them. And ultimately, you know, those other two driveways will cease to function and you know, will be, for all practical purposes, abandoned.
I think that's the best outcome. The same thing, you know, I live along Campbell's, or Grigsby Chapel, and there was a development there, and all four homes use one driveway, and it works a lot better, so.
Again, ideally, we would have liked to seen that done on the front end here.
Sure.
From a staff perspective, but apparently, you know, the other property owners weren't willing to take that step at this point.
Alderman Burnett?
So how will 9 and 10 get access to 11?
There would have to be a plat note or some
I
provision
just mean
made.
physically. If I'm out there on their property looking at that picture you put up with the LCUB pole,
They would have to put a driveway through, you know, like a
but it'd
common
have to
driveway.
loop
Yeah,
around
it
the
would.
LCUB, which would take up the front yard.
Yeah, it
of
would
the-
impact it for sure.
Well, there's another solution, and I'm going to butt in here. There's a different kind of pole you can put up, LCB can, that does not use the guide wire, as far as the 45-degree guide wire. It can, and in a minute we'll bring the applicant up. It can use a vertical guide wire, which runs right beside the pole. And I'll shut up so you can continue.
No, that's okay. I mean, you're talking about taking 10 feet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an ideal situation, and unfortunately, the property was platted that way. We're trying to make a better situation out of a bad situation, so.
Yeah, I just don't see having that one piece out will definitely help, but it's still, I mean, based on the shape of the lot, that house has to be closer to Campbell Station, right? Because it's kind of like a V, so it's already going to be pushed up, and then you're going to ask them to put a driveway that pushes it back towards their front.
And I believe one of the concerns, and again, I think the applicant can speak to this, is that, you know, it's the pole's in the way of him accessing the shared drive now.
Right.
To go the other way.
Right, that's what I was trying to figure out. How do they currently have access? Because you said they have access.
Well, right now that driveway's on the property line, so they have access. They'd have to get to it, but it's not an ideal situation. It's Unfortunately,
But they have access.
They don't.
But they do have access. The pole is not, it's not completely impeding access, right?
yeah, the pole affects their access, but they can still access it. It's just not a good situation.
Let's go ahead and bring the applicant up, Bart, if you don't mind.
Oleg Zites, 2000 Panoramic Way, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37932. I appreciate your time here, guys. This discussion was about 45 minutes long on the last meeting, and I would like for you guys to hear me out. It's good to see some familiar faces from our last meeting and some new faces. I'd like to tell a little backstory on this property. As I told in the last meeting, it passed 7-1 because eventually people understood where I was coming from and my dilemma here. And for those that have not heard my side of it, I'd like to take the moment of your time. I grew up in West Knoxville, got married about 3.5 years ago to my beautiful wife, who's also in the medical field. When we got married, we moved into an apartment, paying $1,600 a month currently, plus utilities. As caregivers to our parents, we wanted to find a house close to them. In this economy, the crazy house market, it was not a feasible option. We started looking for land to build on, so we came across this property that was being sold by Houston Homes. When we looked at this property for the first time, it was appealing. Flat property, has a loop-around driveway in there. All the utilities are at the road. We later figured out that the direct driveway access that's seen in the picture is from an old mobile home that used to be on that property. When the realtor, and I should mention, who worked with Houston Homes, showed us this property, should never disclose that per the plat map we are to share the driveway with the neighbor. We later found out that they had quite the reputation and there are reasons for fleeing town. We looked at this property from every angle and came to a conclusion that it would be best to build a duplex for ourselves and have our parents live next door so they could continue living an independent lifestyle. This duplex will serve my family as a permanent resident, not an investment property. It's a three-bedroom, 2.5-bathroom duplex, more than enough for my family and quite an upgrade from an overpriced apartment. In order to fit this duplex on this lot, I had to rezone the entire subdivision, and I can probably say I did everything the right way. I took the courtesy and collected signatures from every neighbor before proceeding. As we continued our planning process, we found out that Knox County plans to widen North Campbell Station Road. The increased right-of-way improvements to the intersection of Campbell Station Road and Fritz Road and the associated utilities relocation make it nearly impossible to connect to the platted joint driveway to the east. Additionally, new turn lane for Fritz Road will make it nearly impossible to turn left from the shared driveway. With the relocation of the utility pole and the guide wire, along with the future installment of the turn lane, I was inclined to reach out to the engineering department of the town of Farragut to request a driveway permit. I met with them multiple times pleading my case, and I was told, and I quote, "Someone dropped the bomb and allowed the driveway access on lots 9 and 10 to be installed. We do not see a problem with giving you a driveway permit. It would actually be a better option, but these two accesses have to be closed." So because of somebody's lack of knowledge or understanding of the obstacles that we face now, I am to sacrifice the safety of my family in having a direct, safe driveway access of my own. This access would be a much safer entrance and exit than having a shared driveway. I am more inclined to believe that this shared driveway poses a bigger hazard than having to pull out in the middle of the turn lane. When I reached out to the utility engineer, he created a group email, included Knox County, LCUB, and engineers at Farragut. I actually submitted this screenshot, but unfortunately never made it to our meetings. He voiced a concern and kindly asked Knox County, Farragut, to come to a consensus and if possible allow me a direct driveway access. He stated, and I quote, "LCB would prefer not to incur the cost of relocating this pole a second time if an amicable driveway solution can be found. Even if we move the pole a second time, I will still be faced with an impossible situation of turning left with the turn lane installment. So today I humbly request you take a look at a different perspective and consider the safety of my family as you make this decision." And also on our last meeting, we came to a conclusion, and Mark Shipley said, "Mainly because the conditions have changed since the plat was created, I think the hardship, and I understand that it's a good point, that the conditions have changed. The road widening project happened since 2017's plat map was created. This has pushed back everything and has made everything sharing and access and where they come out less desirable location than across Fritz Road, end quote. And I think the best, because this went and was voted 7-1, Commissioner Noah Meyer said it the best. He said, I do observe that, I do have an observation that I'd like to share with the rest of the committee. I'm looking at the historical aerial photograph from 2016. That's a year prior from when the plat was prepared. There always been a small lot there. In 2016, there was a single white mobile home with a circle driveway. That's exactly where the old gravel is as seen in the picture. I do believe there is a hardship here, and I'm still quoting him. I think the hardship is that the utilities have been relocated since Knox County required the shared access, and I think pushing the utilities further to outside of the right-of-way creates a hardship. And in an ideal world, all three of these small lots would share one access. Well, they don't. The access point in which Knox County required to be shared back in 2017, which is a year after the aerial photograph shows, and when the mobile home was removed and the circle driveway was abandoned. And he said later, quite frankly, I don't think I would support going back to the circle driveway, but I do think I would support letting an applicant have a single access, a sole exclusive access on this lot that lines up with Fritz Road. And I can continue quoting the other commissioners that agreed with him, just because at the end of the day, like one commissioner said I stated that what Commissioner Myers just said, I think lining up with Fritz Road is what we're trying to do anyway. The two current accesses will have the issues they've been having all along. There's nothing we can do about that. I am in agreement in access, granting him an access. So if you look at my situation here, it's complicated, it's ugly. We're making lemonade out of the limits we are presented. We were not told that we have to share the access until we start digging into it. And I'm just trying to see what's the safest thing for my family. Safest access, pulling in and out of the Campbell Station Road. So since the whole plan to widen North Campbell Station Road has happened, it has created a hardship. The pole was moved, and I could deal with the pole being there, but as soon as they put the guide wire, that took away my access to connecting to my neighbors. And with widening, putting a turn lane, it's going to be impossible to turn left. And with the help of AI, the probability of all three neighbors and 6 vehicles coming and going at the same time is only 3%. So I don't think it's deemed as a hazardous situation, or it would increase a potential car accidents. I think, in fact, that if my driveway is accessed right at the intersection, it would decrease the possibility of having a car accident, because you can see left and right without any issues or anybody blocking it. And the reason everything has happened the way that it has, if you look at this map right here, this is my property. The green, this is a bidding map for Knox County. The green shows 2 access points to my property. So this means that any utility guy, any person that comes in, they think, oh, he has an access to his property, so we're going to put all of our utilities between you and the neighbor. So this has happened. That's where the sewer caps are right between me and my neighbor. That's why the utility pole is right between me and my neighbors, because nobody had any idea that I have to share, per plat map, they have to share the driveway with the neighbor. So I humbly request you grant me an access and understand the situation that I'm in, and for the safety of me and my family, because it's not an investment property, it's going to be for me for long term. Grant me this driveway permit. Thanks for your time and hearing me out.
Okay, so you have a guide wire and a sewer
Yeah, right between.
between, okay. And your neighbor does not want to let you use his driveway?
Well, he has no choice, because we have to share per the plat map, but he does not want to close his off. He said that, I guess he's afraid that it's going to decrease his value of his house, but what we discussed in the last meeting is that if it gets bad enough, they put the lane installment, and it gets bad enough, they will see, like, our driveway's not working out, let's just connect to his. And in the long run, we will achieve what the engineers were trying to achieve is to have one access point on my driveway and all the rest of the neighbors somehow connect to mine.
Could that actually happen?
It's a possibility if they,
Can't get out.
yeah, if they, because we were agreed with conditions that the neighbors can tie into my access.
Because that
So,
looks
I
to me
mean-
like if you're going to put delineators there, that it'll be impossible to turn left out
Yeah,
of
and
either one of those driveways.
And that's what we're hoping, that the neighbors are gonna understand that and it's gonna close off their access points and tie into mine, because I'll be at the intersection going left or right. So in long term, I think that's what we're hoping for to achieve.
Well, that would require us to allow your driveway straight across from Fritz Road.
Correct, yeah.
In
And I
order for
think as
all
the
that to happen.
engineers, as an engineer said, that quite frankly, it is the better option of it all. It was, quite frankly, a better location being that it was lined up with Fritz Road. I think we discussed a similar situation with the tire and oil change that they dealt with earlier in that meeting. And everybody understood and agreed that this is actually the safer and better solution for this.
Okay, then we'll start back again with questions from our alderman, and we'll start with Alderman Kane.
I have a question for Bart, if he could come back up, please.
I wanted everybody to get the full breadth
Yep.
of what we did at the Planning Commission and before we went much further.
So Bart, I know this, you may not have this information, but the two existing driveways that are there in the two homes that are there now, when was that approved and did that come to us?
It would not have come to us because the property itself is actually within
Okay.
the jurisdiction of Knox County.
And that was before we realized,
Well, even with that, the Knox County Planning Commission would still have the plating authority. It's
Okay.
just that they would typically better coordinate with us on the access.
okay, and they
aspect
didn't
of it.
coordinate with this one?
Yeah.
with
And
the
in fact,
previous.
any change to this plat will have to be run back through the Knox
Okay.
County Planning Commission.
I didn't know if there was a further, recent, earlier discussion on those two driveways.
I mean, the dates there on the plat are, I guess, 2017 is when all the signatures are on that plat. So
Okay.
that's when it would have been platted.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else?
Alderman Burnett.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that there's a hardship there. It is pretty easy to point. I mean, the safest route is across from Everett, which is where the access is being requested. I think sometimes I'm more hesitant on looking at things like this where we have more curb cuts to roads because we want as few curb cuts as possible, right?
Absolutely.
But especially when there's a greenway or a sidewalk, because then it's just more opportunity to hit a biker, hit a runner, hit a walker, hit a kid. But there's not that right here. And so I think it's very reasonable, given the hardship, given the crap that has gone on with this property. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's reasonable. I respect the staff who, when they recommend no, for me, you really got to listen. Because, there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom, and you really need to listen in. But I think there's some hardships there that make a good case for lining up across from.
And I spoke with Knox County before all of this, and they said if the Farragut, town of Farragut grants me a driveway permit, they have no problem with removing the shared access point.
Oh, okay. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, because I've been working really close with Knox County with this, and right before the Planning Commission meeting on February 20th, I actually spoke with Amanda Perky, and she got Jim and Steve with traffic engineering in Knox County on board, and they were supposed to issue me a statement regarding the situation. They expressed that they are partially at fault for this hardship at hand. And they said due to the road project, this shared access is no longer a viable solution for this lot. So I told them that, we passed at our first meeting. I didn't know how this structure works, and I guess they thought that it was a done deal. But I'm here at the second meeting, so if needed, we can still get that statement from them.
No further questions for me.
Okay, Alderman White?
I feel your pain, but I'm not sure the inability to turn left is a deciding factor. After all, I lived in Bel Air on Kingston Pike. I can't turn left. There's no way I can turn left. I have to go right, turn around the Village Green to go left.
I think
So
another.
I'm not sure that's a deciding factor, if you ask me.
I think another hardship is where they pull the utility poles more inside and the guide wire coming in closer to the house to get to the property. It's almost impossible. You know.
Yeah.
So it's not just the turning left, but the relocation of the utility poles have definitely made it hardship. And then the sewer caps are right there beside it too. So even to pour concrete over the sewer caps, I'm sure that has to be done a certain way and such.
Okay.
Okay, you have anything else?
I was just asking Bart if you would come forward one more time. I have a question. So can you explain again in a layman's term why staff do not support granting this variance?
Well, the staff's position on this, and in the case of a lot of these type of access variances and other types, is that, there is existing access provided for on the plat. It may be difficult, it may require the pole to be relocated again. I know LCUB doesn't want to do that. It may require a different type of guide wire. And the third access will, make a non-conforming situation worse. At the same time, we do understand the rationale that the Planning Commission had on it as well. It is a situation where there's been change in conditions, and, and ideally, if we had been involved on the platting on the front end, we would have recommended that all three lots have to access there across from Fritz Road, because it is the better location for an access point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bart, don't run off.
I feel like a pawn, Bart.
I guess really, if we granted access and it becomes something where the other two lots cannot get out, and then LCB will move that guide wire to where they can come over to his driveway to get out, to turn left, would the staff support it then?
Like I said, our original recommendation to the property owners, try to work with both of the other lot owners, if not at least the one adjoining, and get it moved, just to improve the situation. If all three of them, had that access, but I don't think those, the other two property owners, it doesn't sound like they're going to abandon their access points at this point. They may have to wait and see what the true impact is on them going the other way. And I think that's why the Planning Commission made their recommendation in favor, subject to, or with the recommendation that staff work with the county to provide, an adequate note on the replat, because this will require a replat, because right now the plat has a restriction on access to only those 2 points. So that, they will have to go back through the platting process to void out that note.
I understand from him that he's talked to him about that. Okay.
And what the Planning Commission wanted to see was provision made at that point so that the other lots could access that one driveway there that would align with Fritz Road,
If they want to.
if they want.
If they
And
ever
who
do.
pays for it?
Well, I mean, they would have to improve their driveways to get over to it.
And it's a neighborhood.
Huh?
It's a neighborhood, right?
It's just
No,
the
it's
three
just three
homes.
houses.
Oh.
There's just 3 lots there, yeah.
Rounded up, it's all.
Well, they're part of that existing it is part of that subdivision, but there's only 3 of them right there together.
If this property owner, as part of replatting lot, if this property owner, as part of the replatting of lot, of these 3 lots, if he grants them that access, they would have to make the improvements of their driveways to get over to it.
So
But,
if they're
you
blocked,
know-
then they wouldn't have a whole lot of choice if they were blocked by the, as far as the left turn, or they could live with right turn only.
Exactly.
Okay,
I
Bart.
mean, the driveways are gonna, the driveways where they are gonna exist, or the cuts would exist, and basically this would be replatted with a third one added there along with Fritz Road. And again, I think what the planning commission wanted to see was staff work with the county staff to get something worked out to where sometime in the future, the other lots could access that third driveway.
At their expense, and if that would ever happen, which is.
Yeah, it would be the same as if I had an easement to cross your property and it had never been used, and at some point I wanted to, I would have to build the driveway across your property.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask one more thing. Mr. Hale, I'm going to ask for your input, please.
You just want me to comment in general?
Yeah, I'd like for your input on this whole situation.
Earn your paycheck.
Usually I kind of get concerned about the possibility of precedent being an issue for future decisions. The difference is that in this situation, I can't imagine a situation like this ever coming up again. It's got the kind of difficulties that this one has. And so as far as a legal matter, I don't think it's I think the objective would always be that you want all three of them to come out directly across from the road across the street. But that's not going to happen unless the two other property owners figure out it's a lot safer for them to join and have one way. But because that property's in the county and the access is in town of Farragut, that we can't require it. So I don't see it as a problem legally to grant the variance. I can also certainly understand why the staff would feel the way the staff feels about this particular one. There is access, and is it the greatest access? No. But, I sound like an economist, don't I?
Or a politician.
Well,
An attorney.
But, neither. So I guess my sense of it is that in some ways, the whole reason we have variances is to take care of hardships when hardships exist. It's one of the requirements of variances being granted in the zoning world, not necessarily in this particular situation. I don't think it's required. I think it's a discretionary decision when it comes to the variances on this particular regulation. It's unlike variances from zoning regulations. So, my feeling, I guess, is if you feel there's a hardship that has been unfairly placed on these folks, and that it would make sense to remedy that hardship, then you ought to vote in favor of granting the variance.
Okay.
If you don't think it's a hardship, if they can just access through the existing access without granting the variance, then that would be your vote.
Okay, sir.
Good, I hope everybody didn't hear that.
We got you.
Technology has never been my strong suit.
Okay, folks, in that case, I'm going to need a motion. we've not had one, and now is the time for one. We've heard all aspects of from Bart and from the applicant, so.
So move to approve?
Yep.
Okay. I'll need a second.
Second.
Okay. In this case, I'll need a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Kane.
Yes.
Alderman White.
I have reservations, but I'm gonna try to help you out and say yes.
Vice Mayor Meyer.
No.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Okay, thank you, Allison. Let the record show that the variance has been approved as requested with a 4-to-1 roll call vote, March 27th at approximately 6:56 p.m. Okay, next. Good luck. Next will be approval of appointment to the Knox County Community Health Council. Every
This
once
one's
in a
a lot
while, I'll get
easier.
the opportunity to recognize the service of our town volunteers. Tonight, I will be recognizing 2 that have always gone over and above their call to serve. That would be Dot LaMarche, and by far the longest-serving volunteer, Mary Ann McGill. Both have represented the town of Farragut with many distinguished years of service and have decided to retire from their post at this time with the Health Council. Please join me in thanking them both. And as 2 more get to move on to spend more time, they want to spend more time with their families. And so we will start with listening to Dot LaMarche, and then we'll move on to a nomination for an applicant.
Well, first of all, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
I want to thank the board for letting me come tonight. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve on this committee. The Knox County Community Health Council includes, of course, the city of Farragut. And we focus on addressing health challenges and barriers placed by residents of Knox County, Tennessee. By collaborating with community partners, we strive to develop practical and sustainable actions that improve the well-being of all the people that live in our area. Our work begins with a community health assessment, and it's known as the CHA, conducted by the Knox County Health Department. This comprehensive process involves collecting and analyzing local data to identify all the present and the most important health issues that we're dealing with. And based on all the findings that we've been doing for the last month, the council creates a community health improvement plan called the CHIP, which focuses on 3 key health priorities. It serves as a strategic roadmap detailing specific goals, actions, and partnerships needed to effectively tackle these problems these priorities that we have. The structured approach fosters collaboration across sectors, encourages community engagement, and ensures long-term impactful improvements in health care for the outcomes of all Knox County residents. This year we have chosen 3 diseases, 1 cancer, very prevalent in this area, diabetes, and adverse childhood experiences, which we are beginning to really deal with all the things that are happening with young children. Mary Ann and I have both served on the cancer subcommittee because we both have had cancer in our families. And our new dedicated residents to the town of Farragut have stepped up and said because we are leaving. I actually started in 2016. I was appointed by the mayor in 2016 and served until COVID. And then we did not meet for 2 or 3 years. And then we came back, and then Mary Ann joined me. And we served supposedly for 3 years. However, because of the COVID, I ended up serving more than 3 years. And that was okay, that was fine. But Jenny Craddock has decided to serve on the cancer subcommittee. And Jeannie has decided to work with the children, and it's called the Adverse Childhood Experiences. And it's so involved, but if we can do anything to help a child have a very happy, productive life, then that's what it's all about. So I am so happy that they have chosen to take our places, and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dot. Okay, we will, of course, we do have to nominate and an applicant and vote on that, and I will start with the nomination.
So we're nominating Jenny, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I move to appoint Jenny Craddock as the board appointee to the Community Health Council.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And as a mayor, I appoint the second person, that would be Jeannie Bukowski, as the other member, as far as our representatives. So please let the record show that the appointment of our two new volunteers to the Knox County Health Council. Thank you for stepping up. Okay, next will be approval of appointment to the Visual Resources Review Board.
Yes, sir. The purpose of this business item is to appoint an applicant for a vacant position on the Visual Resources Review Board. We currently have an applicant, it's Jonathan Francis, and the position is for the term ending in June of 2025. The proposed motion is to appoint Jonathan Francis to the unexpired term ending June of 2025.
Okay,
Move to approve.
okay, Vice Mayor.
Second.
Okay, Alex. Okay, if in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Good luck. You can join Alderman White, being on the BRRB. I think you'll be definitely a good addition to our team. So. Yeah, let the record show Jonathan Francis has been appointed to fill the position. And that was Sue Stool's position that resigned and moved to Kentucky. Next will be approval of agreement between Town of Farragut and Knox County for the lease of office space in the Farragut Town Hall.
Mayor, the town and Knox County have had an ongoing agreement for many decades now for the Knox County Clerk and Trustees offices to be located at Town Hall. Obviously, we've been going through a renovation process, and we're moving their offices from where they were upstairs to downstairs on the first floor. And they're also going to be taking up more space than they had before, approximately 2,248 square feet of space. So the current contract and agreement that you have before you is a 5-year term from April 1st of 2025 through March 31st of 2030, or as soon as they can get in the building with us here soon. And what it'll call for are new rent rates based on $16 a square foot for the first year, and those increase over time over the next 5 years, as well as we're integrating our security system in with theirs. And so they're paying for the internal monitoring equipment of approximately $2,500 that will be, that they will pay us approximately 30 days after it's installed. So the motion is to approve the agreement between the town of Farragut and Knox County for the lease of office space in the Farragut Town Hall.
Move we approve.
Second.
Okay. Any,
No, sir.
there's the comments, none. Any discussion? Vice Mayor?
No, sir.
Alderman Kane?
None.
Alderman Burnett?
No question.
Alderman White?
None.
I have none. Okay, with discussion complete, I'll ask in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Let the record show the agreement has been approved as requested at approximately 7:04 p.m., March 27th, 2025. Next will be approval and award contract 2025-13, fiber location, emergency restoration and maintenance services.
The purpose of this agenda item is approval and award of contract 2025-13, Town of Farragut fiber locating emergency restoration and maintenance services to the selected contractor. The Town of Farragut has recently invested in a new advanced traffic management system, ATMS. The completion of this ATMS project required the installation of approximately 28,040 feet of aerial fiber optic cable and 22,508 feet of underground fiber optic cable. This new fiber optic infrastructure is integral to maintaining communication between intersections and providing effective and efficient signal timings, specifically in areas where the signals operate in coordination with one another. Because of this, it is important to take precautions to safeguard our fiber optic network against accidental damage and have a plan to respond to outages if they occur. 2 proposals were received and graded by a staff selection committee using the following metrics: understanding of project goals, experience with other government agencies, proposer qualifications / technical competence, and cost. After consideration of both proposals, the staff selection committee selected Global Communications. Global Communications has a proven track record of successfully providing services required by this contract to other governmental agencies, demonstrated by Global Communications' contract with Knoxville Utility Boards, where they perform aerial construction, underground construction, splicing, traffic control, and their contract with Lenore City Utility Board, where they perform aerial construction, underground construction, splicing, and utility location. The bid sheet for Global Communications proposal can be found below. Proposed motions: approval and award of contract 2025-13 fiber location, emergency restoration, and maintenance services proposal to Global Communications.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor. Alderman Hoyt. Do we have any residents?
No, sir.
None? Okay. Discussion, Alderman Kane.
None.
Vice Mayor.
Pass.
Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
Alderman White.
None.
None. I have nothing, none as well. I'll ask if in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Okay, let the record show the contract 2025-13 has been approved as requested on March 27th, 2025, at approximately 7:07 p.m. Okay, next will be citizens' comments.
We have Joey Ruffalo tonight.
Okay. Joy?
All right, Joey Ruffalo, Campbell Lakes Drive, Farragut. Good evening, and thank you, Alderman Kane, for the invitation to come by tonight for the opportunity to speak. Human trafficking is not a big city problem. It's a Tennessee problem, and it's a local one. According to the 2024 Governor's Brief on Human Trafficking, every single one of Tennessee's 95 counties has reported trafficking. That means it's happening here whether we see it or not. In fact, it's the second fastest growing criminal industry in Tennessee behind drug trafficking. The numbers are heartbreaking. In 2024, the Tennessee Human Trafficking Hotline received over 1,170 tips, and 514 of those involved minor sex trafficking. Nearly half of those child victims fall between the ages of 13 and 17. In fact, every 2 minutes in the United States, a child is bought or sold for sex, and the average age is 13. This isn't just a criminal issue, it's a human one, and one that requires a community-wide response. That's why I'm here today to talk about the Tennessee Businesses Against Trafficking, or TBAT. It's a statewide initiative launched by the Secretary of State to empower businesses and organizations to help identify, prevent, and report human trafficking. Through free, accessible training, TBAT equips employees, leaders, and everyday citizens to recognize the signs and take action. Businesses that complete the training receive certification and join a growing network committed to protecting the vulnerable. It doesn't matter if you're a gas station, gym, church, salon, or restaurant. You can be a frontline defender in this fight. And I want you to know I've been inspired to take this up personally. I reached out to the Secretary of State's office to begin laying the groundwork for bringing this training and awareness campaign right here to our town. With the support of our tourism committee, which I serve as vice chair, and others who have expressed interest, I'm asking for your blessing and support to officially bring this initiative to our community. Now, let me be clear, this isn't about sounding an alarm or suggesting our town isn't safe. We're a safe, welcoming community. But true safety isn't just about reacting to problems. It's about being proactive, educated, and united in protecting the most vulnerable. Bringing TBAT here simply means we care enough to stay one step ahead. It means we want our businesses, our schools, and our neighborhoods to have the tools to recognize red flags, because prevention is the best protection. Training is free. Each training takes approximately 45 minutes. They will come to us and do as many sessions on that day as needed to accommodate. I actually received word today that no town has officially signed up as a whole. So Farragut's involvement, whether it be the amount of businesses that complete the training, or if members of Farragut's government join in the training, the town will be an official TVAT partner and actually be the only one in the state. So we'd be the first. Let's be a model for the rest of the state. Let's make our town a place where traffickers are seen, stopped, and held accountable, and where victims know they're not invisible. Together, we can turn awareness into action and action into life saved. And on that note, I'm happy to and volunteering myself to lead the initiative and reach out to staff to share details and how we can work to make that happen. Thank you and appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you, Joy. Do you know Steve Kropaski?
I'm sorry?
Do you know Steve Kropaski?
Oh, yeah. we know each other quite well.
Yeah. Okay, I would suggest getting with him. He has a direct line to a lot of the businesses, and maybe he can help you out.
That's through the FBA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually on that board as well.
Okay, good deal.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to, any more? Is that the only one? Only one, okay, great. Town Administrator's Report.
Yeah, two things tonight, Mayor. One is I know everybody has been anxious about Town Hall and us being able to get back in the building. I think we're getting really close to that announcement coming soon. We have a few more inspections left to do, and I hope after those can get through and hopefully approved, we'll be able to make some announcements here in just the next couple of days on dates in the future that we'll be moving in, having open houses, things like that. So be looking for announcements from the town here soon on that information. The other thing is, just because he's in eyeshot of me, is I want to introduce to you Ryan Sims, our new IT technician, sitting over there in the corner. He's helping us out tonight. Learn a little bit about, yeah, please give everybody, give Ryan a hand. Let's go. Let's go. All right, yes, absolutely. Excellent. Ryan's one of our new staff, and we're glad to have him helping out our IT department. So with that, that's all I have to report tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. And last but not least, our town attorney's report.
No report tonight.
Okay, in that case, the time is approximately 7:12 p.m. Without objection, March 27th, 2025, Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman meeting is now adjourned.